Hello, hello. This is Nexus Tao, aka known in the furry fandom as Silver Lone Wolf. I hope you guys are okay today. This video is a continuation of my last one. If you haven't seen it, click here. The video is about a guy named Fenrir Draconis, and he is, he likes to groom cupcakes. The reason I'm making this video is to prove how much of a liar he is, and he likes to use suicide threats on himself of self-harm to gain sympathy and, just collect people to his cause. I got text logs from his Telegram group and his Discord group. So we're going to go over them and show you that basically what he does to gain sympathy. And then we're going to compare it, make notes and such, how they are very different and how he's actually using alt accounts to manipulate the situation. He has one known alt account that I know of that is called Scruffy Pup that pretends to be Fenrir's son and tries to deliver the message. He has many other alt accounts from what I heard, but I don't know how true that is. All I just know is I can confirm the Scruffy Pup one, but the others I haven't heard from yet, and I'm hearing that he actually, he does have more. Until I get confirmation, I can't say that he does or doesn't have other alt accounts. So this is just to cover my butt. But yeah, going back again, the Scruffy Pup, I can confirm 100% that is his alt account. I want to give a shout out to Pluto, who is trying to turn a new leaf. He was friends with Fenrir. Now he wants to expose Fenrir for being, a cupcake groomer. And before we continue on, I want to say to you guys that are listening, if you have any incidents, especially if you were or are a minor and had, dealings with Fenrir grooming you, I would like to hear your story. I would love to hear your side and have text logs and expose this freak. Your emotions are valid. Your safety is most important. And to get to that point where you can actually find justice is to be brave and speak out against the people who have done you absolute wrong. It is most important you get that out so you can have peace for yourself and those around you. Cupcake groomers like Fenrir Draconis gets away with it because people who are victims stay quiet. You don't have to stay quiet. You don't have to be alone. You're not alone in this. There's many, many victims around the world who are, victims of child predation. And unfortunately, a lot of these go unanswered because, the victims stay quiet. Don't stay quiet. Come forth and speak out. I'll be glad to help you get your voice out. I would post my contact info in the description below and also other ways to get in touch with other help services. The number for the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, I will put their cyber tip hotline below too. And to also contact a legal advisor if you are a child or once a child that was groomed by online predators such as Fenrir Draconis. You can also contact the police. You don't have to contact me directly. As long as you get help, that's what matters. You are never alone in this fight. That I can assure you. Thank you for listening to that. And now to the main course of why I'm making this video. First up is Fenrir's Telegram channel. Basically, it's Fenrir's VRC Pics channel. And here we have where Scruffy, that claims to be Fenn's son, that Fen has passed away as of 30 minutes ago from the post. Two people have comment under the post, but here's the thing, it lit up like a Christmas tree. I remember people coming to me in VRC saying, "Oh my god, Nexus, did you hear? Fen, he unalived himself and he is dead." Now, to make a disclaimer before I carry on, I understand, unaliving or having thoughts of or impulses to is very serious. I am not dismissing the fact that people actually do suffer from such conditions. It's just people like Fenrir Draconis makes people that actually suffer from this condition seem illegitimate, and people who actually suffer from this, it makes it harder for them to get help because people sometimes, don't believe them thanks to people who use it to gain attention. In the next three chat logs made by quote-unquote Scruffy Pup, you can see right here, he tries to make it seem legitimate that, Fen has passed away, which did not happen, of course, because this is Fenrir behind Scruffy Pup. Please send your prayers out to his fam. And then the next one says, there have been late developments. And the next one says, I'll let you all know when I wake up. Keep in mind, this is him pretending to be his own son, pretending that he has died, pretending this is a real emergency, and it's not. And to drive my point further home, I found his X account. As you can see here, he does go by his real name on the main name, Fenrir Draconis AD, and then under it is Scruffy the Gold. He likes using the name Scruffy a lot, especially to pretend to be his own son or to have alt accounts. Next is an update from, Fenrir himself, where he says, LOL, it's Fenrir, I'm not dead. The nurses never checked my pulse once. Now we all know that's technically, a big lie, because not only nurses will be checking his pulse like crazy every few seconds, there also doctors will be there. They have to take records, okay? It's important for doctors, if somebody did pass away or is dying, they have to account every second into their details. And not checking pulses is a extremely rare case that happened. Continuing on, he claims that they hooked me up to the heart monitor and found out I had a pulse, then revived me. I'm pretty close to being detoxed. I'll be home in a few hours. Again, going back to what I was saying, this is an extremely rare scenario where doctors or nurses forget to check pulses. This is big time lawsuit if this actually happened. If this was true, Fenrir could sue the nurses, could sue the doctors or the hospital they were in for malpractice. Malpractice is normally happens in poorer countries where education and medicine is lacking of, first world nations such as America and countries in Europe and Asia. They have a very powerful testing process where every doctor, every nurse goes through a strenuous test of studying and, repetition of practicing medicine, while those above that are in universities carefully vet the doctors and nurses. Can malpractice happen even with such strenuous vetting process? Yeah, it happens a lot, but it's rare. It's rare too. And I could prove it because not only he has to go through two different people that are supposed to check his pulse, but there's going to be a third one. This is very important because the first people that he encountered are really supposed to check his pulse. So if he did have a pulse, they would know. And so we are off to the Discord comments on his Discord group. The Discord comments are very different than what he initially posted as his alt in Telegram. In these chat logs, Fenrir, pretending to be Scruffy Pup behind the scenes, is saying, hello everyone, this is Scruff Pup, Fenrir's VR son. I explain more later. Fen is no longer with us of 30 minutes ago. Now here's a person I was talking about that was supposed to check his pulse as soon as they arrive on the scene, because we're going to skip the other chat logs and go straight to the bottom where it says, why TF didn't you call the ambulance? This is by Vaughn. And Fenrir, again, pretending to be Scruffy, says, I did. I was out with friends. I live 30 minutes away from Fen. He is in the back of an ambulance in a body bag. Now we know this is absolute nonsense because paramedics are trained in CPR and rescuing and all sorts of, they are taking these tests to make sure these paramedics are fit, are well sound in mind to deal with situations. And their goal is to keep patients alive as long as they can, as much as they can. And they have equipment that can detect pulses, even the faintest pulse. They have equipment to help resuscitate people until they get to the hospital emergency room where they could get actual better life-saving help. And in the next post, Scruffy, again, Fenrir behind the scenes, says, rip Fenrir, and it says this date to this date. And going back to the Telegram post, we all know that he is okay, that he didn't die, that the nurse forgot, I put in air quotes, to check his pulse. Again, the paramedics have to, the doctors have to, and the nurses have to. So we all know right now this is BS what he's doing. He's doing this for sympathy, to gain attention. All of this, one big fat lie. Now we get to the dessert where things actually becomes very interesting, because I think that basically people are starting to find out that it is all a lie. I mean, come on. Anyone with more than a brainstem can see this is a lie. Over here, we can see that it continues where it says Fenrir has DID, which he doesn't, and one of his alters will be out. The host was cut off for reasons I will not go into. Also, why you want to know all of his actual name. Basically, people wanted to know his name to figure it out, that if he was dead or hospitalized so they could find him, probably send him get well cards, stuff like that. But of course, because he wasn't really in a hospital, he wasn't really dead, he refused to. This Scruffy Pup alter ego of his wouldn't do that. And I say alter ego because you'll see why in just a moment. Fenrir, still pretending to be Scruffy Pup, says, more of that, Fen, the host, took pills and overdosed. The other alters had to kill the host off. Of course, somebody asked, are there alters? And Scruffy Pup, again, This is him claiming he has a few, pretending to have DID when he doesn't. Sorry for the interruption. I just want to say that I totally forgot something while recording. Some of my sources tell me that Fenrir lives in Florida. I'm not trying to dox him, but that's what my sources say. If true, basically I could look it up that he's under the Baker's Act, which the Baker's Act is actually something for doctors. If a patient is exhibiting symptoms of self-harm or harm of others, they can be held involuntarily for up to 72 hours, which means the pill swallowing, if true, Fenrir wouldn't be home in a few hours. He wouldn't be home for at least 3 days. And this is a big deal because if the doctors say that he exhibited symptoms when we let him home, what happens if he self-harm or harms others? Well, there could be a lawsuit that happens. So yeah, the courts could say, well, the responsibility falls onto the doctors, therefore it was, medical neglect, aka malpractice. Many states also have this kind of act to protect the public as well as the patients. Okay, sorry for the interruption. Back to the program. Going off rail a little bit just to discuss something, and then I'll go back to the comments, promise. When I watch other YouTube creators that go after, child predators that are on VR chat, and these predators, they try to make up every excuse in the book, I notice they go for a lot of common excuses like, oh, I have a DID, I have autism, so on and so forth. The autism and DID, I notice they go for a lot, and it seems Fenrir is pulling the same, excuse from the same hat. So just be careful when it comes to these people because they will make up every excuse in the book and never ever take responsibility for their own actions. Moving on. Now people are starting to feel something's a little fishy here because this son decided to, speak forward and say, why is it I get the same Fenrir grade response? And they started talking to them and they feel like, this is Fenrir behind the scruffy pup. And they're not wrong. Their intuition is on point. Son continues saying Scruff Pup was only ever mentioned as an alt and not an account owned by a son. If this is a sick joke, I'm done. Blodos then comments like other accounts he uses himself or personalities or what's said above, which he confirms that every alt that is made, or basically other accounts, is made by him, Fenrir. Of course, Fenrir doubles down saying he does have DID, like I have DID. That's pretty much what he's saying when he doesn't. So now Fenrir has two different stories still going on for him that says that he did overdose to kill off the host or something like that. Nothing to do with the hospital, and another story where he actually been to the hospital. So all I gotta say to him is pick a struggle, bro, because none of this makes sense. And to further prove that Fenrir Draconis is nothing but a habitual liar that will always lie through his crooked teeth no matter what, here's a post by somebody we'll not name because they are a source for another person that is actually keeping track of Fenrir. And here we have the person say, what the hell do you mean he unalived himself? Do you want to know how many times he said that? Then pretends to be someone else claiming he died or something, then made it a huge dramatic thing about it as if you'd be dumb enough to fall for it, only for him to come back to life 4 minutes later claiming that he was given a cure. Yeah, no one is falling for that. As we saw in the chat logs, the stories doesn't make sense because there's two different stories, one going on in Telegram, one going on Discord. This person is absolutely right. Continuing on, he says that it shouldn't be joked about. And I couldn't have said it better myself, second from the last, saying faking it for attention is just sad and wrong. Yeah, again, I cannot say it better myself. Faking it just gives people who legitimately suffer from unaliving tendencies and they can't help it look illegitimate and not get the help they need. And that's a wrap. That's my proof that Fenrir Draconis is a habitual liar and he cannot stop lying. And whatever he says shouldn't, be believed in because he knows he is caught for being a cupcake groomer on VR chat. Thank you so much for listening to this. And again, if you are a victim of Fenrir Draconis, please step forward and talk to me or get the proper help. Again, description of where you can get some help will be below. And yeah, if you need it, you need it. There is no shame at all getting some help. Remember to drink some water, hug your loved ones, and always, always keep safe. Until then, see you next time.
Look, I have people, and I'm gonna say this once, Teo. Drop the shit, or I'll have some put a hit on you.